What's going on, guys? Back with another video. We're going to be doing a power steering rack today. I have play on the left side of the steering rack. I replaced the inner and outer tie rod. There's still play, so this is a problem from like years ago. I just haven't dealt with it yet. So I got a rack here. Claims to be the 712 yellow tag. I don't know if it's like the best model of the 712. I don't know if there's different ones, but it was quite a bit cheaper than a lot of them that I saw. Some of them were over $1,000, so this was $500. Mine is a the 558 or 556 or something like that. I did buy a coupler. It is original BMW, but the splines don't fit on the 712 rack, so I'm worried that when I take this out, that coupler, like I don't know if the shaft on the 712 is bigger than the shaft on this. As far as I knew, they were all interchangeable. So yeah, we're gonna get this pulled out and hopefully everything goes back together. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to throw the old rack back in. So before we get started, just want to say, drop a comment below, like, subscribe. It really helps the algorithm get to more people. So even if you drop a comment unrelated, just say whatever, you know. So I appreciate it. So to start, there's two bolts up here that for the hard lines going into the rack. I don't know if you can see them. There they are. So we have to take those off, and you're gonna want a catch can for all the fluid that comes out. Remember, this is transmission fluid, not power steering fluid. And so we'll take those two off. We'll take the tie rod ends off, and then there's two bolts here, and I think, yeah, there's a nut on the top, so you have to get a socket through here somehow, or a wrench if you can get it on there, and yeah, then it'll come out. Just make sure that there's a washer on each side of it, so if it drops down in the pan, you're going to want to get that. So this is a E10 Torx. Alright, next with the 18, we're going to take the tie rod end off. These usually won't come off as well as these do. I've had this whole car apart, so. Okay, so we got our 15 down here, and then it's a 16 up top as far as I can tell. We got our 15 on here. We got our 16 up top here. The other side's a little bit trickier to get to. It's not quite as much room. Here's the other one right here, and probably can't get a shot. That's it right here. Right there. There is one last piece to take off. Mine's broken, so I just had it zip tied. You gotta take this off of the rack. Probably just swing this up over. Maybe. Alright, now everything's off. I'm gonna pull the rack out, and hopefully it's not stuck on the steering shaft too bad. The Guibo is no good, but I bought another one and it doesn't fit on the other rack, so I'm not exactly sure. I really hope that the other rack doesn't have a different size spline, because if that's the case, then I guess I'm putting this back in for now. But I thought, as far as I knew, they were all interchangeable, so we'll see what happens. This will be a pain in the ass to get off, so you have to, there's another E10 Torx bit on this side, and then gonna have to try and gently hammer it back off, but because it's aluminum, you know, every time you hit it you're gonna damage it, so I gotta be really careful. Okay, so this is kind of what I was worried about, and I can't find my digital micrometer to measure these, but this is the new one, the new Guibo. And it fits over on the old rack, but it doesn't fit on the new one. So is the 712 steering rack a different coupler than the 599? They're both yellow tags, so I can't feel it now. When it was in the, there's play on the left, on the driver's side. I can't feel anything now. So now that everything's apart, I guess the it seems like the steering coupler is different on the 712, which is kind of odd. I figured if they're both yellow tags, I have the 599, and I just bought a 712. I figured they're both yellow tag, they'd be the same steering coupler, but this seems to have a slightly larger shaft on the 712, and it doesn't fit. So I put a new steering coupler onto my old rack, put it back in, and I have another steering coupler ordered, and I'll get that in. We'll be doing this all again in a couple of weeks. Well, that's it with the new coupler, and that's fine. I don't plan on getting rid of this rack. It has play, well, it had play inside it as far as I could tell, but once it was off the car and I was pulling on the tie rod, I couldn't feel anything. But when it's on the car, I could wiggle the wheel and feel play at the end of the inner tie rod, which both have been replaced, so it should be the rack that's bad. But we'll see. New Guibo in, the other one, the steering coupler, the other one was like really soft, so I mean, maybe this is it, and maybe this had to do with something else. I checked all the other suspension components and I don't feel play anywhere. It's got a new wheel bearing, those are new control arms, tie rods, inners and outers. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna get this back in, see how it feels, and either way I have a coupler ordered for this, and we'll be getting this 712 installed. But yeah, until then we're just gonna run the 599.